Good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. Can you all hear me? Okay. Thank you very much. Um, Good evening, everyone. Welcome to JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program. Today is the week 4 of the program on intellectual property, and our topic for today is IP and sports. I can see that the attendance is very low, so please help me remind your teammates, your group mates that the call has started and they have to be on call. Our mentors will be joining us any moment from now. So please let's turn off the attendance. I can see our attendance is coming up. Yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Our mentors are not with us yet, so I think we are going to start um, the call with our mentees presentation. But let's give our mentors a few minutes to join the call while I'm trying to reach out to our mentors. Thank you very much. Just hold on the call.
It's going. Is it gone?
Okay, we're still on the call and we are waiting for our mentor, one of our mentors to join the call before we start. So let's be patient with us, please.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, yes, we can hear you, Mr. Lucio.
Okay.
Welcome to the call.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
All right, thank you very much.
Where are you?
Okay, we
Where-
can start the call now. Mr. Lucio, I'm the moderator for today. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Hussein Mahadi. Welcome once again to JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program. Today's topic on intellectual property is intellectual property and sports, and we'll have two mentors with us today that will be taking us on the topic. Mr. Lucio is already on the call, and also we are expecting Mr. Abiodun Sonaike to also join the call. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Lucio Mazei.
The pleasure is all mine. The pleasure is all mine of being here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, our second mentor is on the call also,
Are you-
Mr. Abiodun.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
All right, good.
I'm sending the link to some colleagues of mine. So is it a problem if I share the session with some of them?
No, it's not a problem, sir. You can share the session. It's totally fine.
So don't worry if some Italian lawyers will connect.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Okay, before we jump into the topic for today, I'll be making a few announcements and telling us about the program and also reading our mentor's profile. Kindly permit me to share my screen before doing that. All right, about the program, JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program is a quarterly program for students and young professionals across Africa. Mentees are afforded the opportunity to access valuable advice, training, network, mentorship, internship, discussion forum, industry updates, resource materials from experienced mentors. The program seeks to encourage continuous training, development, and evolution in Nigeria, Africa, and around the world. You can watch some of our videos on YouTube and on Facebook and LinkedIn by searching for JIIPCC or hashtag JIIPCC I'll be thinking some of the objectives of the program is to provide easy access, guidance, training, and resource material for students and young professionals in Africa and around the world, to facilitate dialogue and network among experienced and less experienced practitioners and stakeholders, to transform mentees into mentors and leaders for the next generation, and finally to facilitate further mentorship, internship, scholarship, and job placement for the mentees. And that's briefly what JIIPCC Mentorship and Internship Program is all about. I'll be taking our first mentor's profile, Mr. Abiodun Sonaike. Is a graduate of the Faculty of Law, University of Abuja, Gwagwalada, and the Nigerian Law School, Lagos campus. He commenced his legal sojourn at the prestigious Afe Babalao and Co. Ibadan, and later worked with the chambers of Musibao Adetumbi, San and Co. before he moved back to Oshogbo to join the law firm of Olatoye Aminu and Co. Due to Abiodun's understanding that this society is evolving and the legal practice also needs to evolve to cover for the loopholes created by societal development, he teamed up with some other progressive-minded young lawyers to establish Litos Legal Consult, a law firm whose practice is a mixture of conventional legal practice areas like litigation, corporate and commercial practice, property law, and the emerging areas of practice like sports law. Mr. Abiodun, as an international sports lawyer, served as a member of the Electoral Committee to the 2018 election into the Osun State Football Association and currently serving as the Vice Chairman of the State Committee. He is a member of the legal committee of the Osun State Football Association and has consulted for the state's football team, Osun United Football Club, and of course, served other teams and football academies in Lagos, Osogbo, Ilorin, and other places within Nigeria. Abiodun is the international legal advisor for Kano International Football Academy, FIFA, whose chairman is the former Nigerian international Kanu Wanko. He is also the legal advisor, Grassroots Football Coach Council, Osun State. Abiodun was elected as the chairman of the Young Lawyers Forum in December 2020, and with the help of other eminent young legal practitioners within the jurisdiction, he has been able to increase the presentation of other young lawyers in the affairs of the bar, and he presents to you, okay, we present to you Mr. Abiodun Amsunaike as our mentor today. I'll be taking the second mentor's profile, Mr. Lucio Mazei. Lucio graduated in business law at Bocconi University in Milan with a thesis titled The Professional Footballer's Contract. He attended the postgraduate specialization course in sports law and sports justice at Università Statale di Milano, and the LLM in international sports law at ISDE in Madrid. Lucio worked for FIGC, Italian Football Association in Rome, then for Gonzalez Mullin Cas. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce those Italian words correctly. And Associados in Montevideo, Uruguay, and for the sport law department at Osborne and Clark in Milan. Now he is a legal consultant at Belva Sports in Madrid. He is fluent in English, Spanish, and Italian. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Lucio, and also thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Abiodun Sonaike. Just jumping straight to the topic for today, sports intellectual property and sports law. I'll be giving the floor to Mr. Lucio to give us an introduction and overview to the topic. The floor is yours, Mr. Lucio.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Are you all from Nigeria, right?
Yes, sir.
I attended the FIFA Master, and during the FIFA Master, I met two colleagues, two sports lawyers from Nigeria, Amobi, and I can't remember the other name, but they were very brilliant, very nice people, and maybe we can organize something with them in the future. I can put all of you in contact.
All right, thank you very much.
What do you think about it?
I think it's great, and I'll also be giving the floor to Mr. Abiodun to respond.
Okay, the question is directed to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's nice meeting you, Mr. Lucio. Well, international sport law is an emerging area of practice, especially in Nigeria. And yeah, of course, we can always organize something since it will be legitimate and to be a good business. Why not? Yeah, thank you.
All right, over to you, Mr. Lucio.
So regarding the today's topic, I think that it's very important to highlight how important is the IP topic in relation with sports law, because when we talk about sports law, we have to consider that all the sports law is not like a practice per se, but it involves administrative law, it involves commercial law, it involves especially labor law. So it is like a topic which involves a lot of areas of law, and IP is a very is a very important one, because for example, if you consider the esports field, you can observe that there are a lot of controversial, there are a lot of issues related to IP, to, for example, related to the image rights. It is very important to highlight how important is the IP rights concept. For example, when we draft contracts of the football players, for example, one very important side to take into consideration is the part related to the image rights, because the image rights are when we draft some contracts, we can observe that the image rights are always like the most tricky part. It is the part where there are more discussions between, for example, the agents and the lawyers, between the agents and the clubs. There are a lot of issues that can arise related to the image rights that are always like one of the best, the most important parts of a contract. Usually, like the closest related to the image rights are the ones that are more difficult to discuss, that are more difficult to where there are more issues, no, between the parties. It happens like that in many cases, in many occasions. And so IP rights is a very important part of the sports law field, and we can observe that when we talk about intellectual property, we have to take into consideration all the part related to the image of the, for example, the football players. In this case, we can observe how the image rights, for example, if we consider a team, there is the single player who has like where there is the most important most important aspect is like that if there is the image right of a single player of or if there is the image rights of multiple players. Usually until 4 people there is no problem. Until 4 people there is no problem in the image rights context. While when there is in a picture, for example, there are more than 4 people, it could be like more a tricky part, and so there will be more details to discuss, more aspect to discuss, because it is considered that until 4 people, you can put them. If you have to insert, for example, in a contract in an image more than 4 people, it is important to put it like more specifically in a clause. Okay, I don't know if I was clear, but for example, in the football team, if there is like an advertisement of 4 people, until 4 people, it is admitted. More than 4 people, it is you have to discuss in details, more in details, what is highlighted. I'm looking for a. I remember I had some slides related to the image rights. Let me see if I can find them. Let me see, because it was very. No, I cannot find. But by the way, image rights are very important as in the intellectual property aspect, because you can observe that in any kind of contract, you always have to cover the image rights part, always. It is like something that you always have to insert, always have to cover, always. Because if, like, for example, there is an advertisement and there are people who were not inserted in the it was not specified in details in the clauses that those people could stay in the picture, for example, it could be tricky, because there many problems could arise from that part. And so it is this is like a suggestion that I always give to all the lawyers, all the people who have to draft contract. My suggestion is always to insert, to put to specify more in details, like all the parts related to the pictures, to the videos, to the images and clips of all the football players, always, football players, or I don't know, any kind of athlete, not only football players. And intellectual property covers a lot of parts, not only image rights, but everything that is related to like the property about some books, some I don't know, not only books, but also, for example, any kind of shit, you know. Always when you draft a contract, you always have to consider that the intellectual property is related to any aspect of the law. So if I for example, if I build something, if I construct something, I have the property on it, and having the property on it is something related to the intellectual property part. So in this case, you can imagine how important is to such topic, not only sport, but in general. And I've been, for example, in a department of the IP in a law firm, and I can consider that it is something very important to cover any kind of aspect, because you cannot even imagine how many issues can arise related to the images of players, or aspects related to the property of a book, of something, or for example, I write a lot of articles, and so you cannot imagine how many issues can arise from the release of an article, no? Because if you don't have the right, the property right on it, everyone can assume that that he is the author, for example, of that article. So you can imagine how important it is to cover this aspect. And let me see if I can find something more specific. I would like to provide you some example, you know. IP rights. Mamma mia. I would like to provide you some articles and some. Let me see. No, they were on the other. Solidarity, education, special mentorship, the news. No. So according to this, I can tell you. Sorry for sorry for this wait, but it will have been very, very interesting to provide you some some slides, some examples. Let me see if I can find something more specifically. No, by the way, regarding the intellectual property, you have to consider that if I write a book, for example, can you see this book? If I write a book, you always have to put your rights, your property rights on it, because anyone can say, oh, I am the author of that book, I am the author of that article, I am the author of this other stuff. So the intellectual property is fundamental, because otherwise anyone can say that he's the author. For example, I have here a book that I wrote about e-sport. Look, I wrote this book, Esports, Profili Normativi e Contrattuali. It is the first book, it's the first legal book related to esports that we wrote here in Italy. And I had some issues with other people, because they used to assume that they were the author of this book. So thanks God, we had registered like the property of such book, and otherwise they could have publicized, they could have advertised that they were the real author of such books. So my suggestion is, when you write an article, when you write a book, when you write whatever, you always have to include the property of your property on the book that you have made, on the article that you have made. This is like a suggestion as a big brother that I can tell you. Always include, always specify in details, like that you are the author. Always register the trademark. Always register the property of whatever you have made or you have written. So this is like a very important aspect. What else? Do you have question? Do you have specific question? Do you have something that you would like to highlight? Some specific details that you would like to cover? Just tell me.
All right, Mr. Lucio, we are going to take the questions towards the end of the program today. So we have a session for the question and answer time. So but for now, we will give the floor to Mr. Abiodun to also give us an extensive overview of the topic from his own legal perspective too. Mr. Abiodun, the floor is yours, and our topic is intellectual property and sports. Thank you very much once again, Mr. Lucio.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Lucio. Thank you, Mr. And it's nice being a commenter with you. Yes, when you're talking about, from my hand, when you're talking about intellectual property and sports, I will be speaking from the present position in sports in Africa, with a special example from the Nigerian situation, especially with the fact that many of our mentees here are Nigerians, and then we believe strongly that at least some of the things we'll be saying, they can actually relate with it from the practical aspect of it. You know, many people like us are on the field, and there are things that we see every day on the field. Intellectual property and sports, we see situations that present itself in trademark, in branding, a situation as to image right, like Mr. Lucio had really espoused about the issue of image rights and all that. But generally, by and large, whichever way that the intellectual property in sports presents itself, the major thing is really about the exploitation of the right. But first, we want to look at you even understanding or realizing that the right even exists in the first place. And then secondly, knowing who knows which right and what, and to what extent do you have the right. And then you are thinking about how far can I exploit this right that exists. For instance, in sports events and tournaments, the issue of branding can come up. The issue of trademark can come up. For instance, the FIFA World Cup, even from the logo to to the event itself, to the video clips in the event, to the images of the athletes involved in that particular competition and all that. Those are the things that the law wants to, the intellectual property law wants to look at. Who has what and how far do we want to? So with the direct reference to Nigeria, I would say that majorly there's still a lot of gap in that wise. You see many people, many sports event organizers in Africa who want to you want to have a major sports event, and then you're writing letters to sponsors, but your proposal you are sending to them is not really covering how far they can actually benefit from the markets from the intellectual property that you hold. Because when you're asking for sponsorship, what you are indirectly saying is that I hold so rights, intellectual property rights in this event, and I am selling part of it to you as a corporate organization for money or for a certain role. So if they are not seeing the value in the, there's, yes, there can be proper intellectual property, but another issue is what is the value of the said intellectual property you are talking about. It is one thing to hold a property, and it's another thing to really value that property so much. For instance, if I can't expect that a FIFA World Cup, for instance, would all command the same, where you can't compare the attention that the FIFA World Cup, or what you can actually gain from a FIFA World Cup, the intellectual property you hold in any form in the FIFA World Cup. You can't compare such with maybe an African Cup of Nations, for instance. Yes, because it also has to do with the audience. It also has to do with the number of partners. It also has to do with the number of participants. It also has to do with the number of countries. Even you cannot compare the attention a European Championship would command with that of African Cup of Nations without necessarily looking down on the African Cup of Nations.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Lucio, we can hear you. Mr. I don't know if we still have Mr.
Well, you as to.
Can you hear Mr. Abiodun? I think he's breaking out of the call. Okay, Mr. Lucio, you had the questions too. I don't know. But Mr. Abiodun is not on the call. I think he's having network glitches, so he'll be joining the call as soon as the network is restored.
Okay, Hussein, he's back on the call.
Okay, yeah, sorry. There was a small disconnection from here, so I apologize for that. So what I'm trying to say is that first you have to look at, there might be some intellectual properties. For instance, the issue of image rights. Except for many, in the European football games, they are really exploiting the TV rights and the image rights. what really makes most of these athletes, I mean abroad, it's not really the transfer fee, so to say. Okay, just hold it. So now, it's not really the transfer fee, but how much can you really exploit your image rights? For instance, there was a time Cristiano Ronaldo had to sell a part of his image rights to a franchise for a certain number of years, for a certain number of money and all that. So if we can actually look at it in Africa, many of the football games and all that, we are passionate about football, but the business side of it, which is mostly about the recognizing the different parts of the image right, different right of the intellectual property rights we have, and specifically exploiting them really to really make a lot of money is still where the gap is. And it's something we have to look at and all that. I don't know if I'm able to. So if there are questions, specific questions, so that I don't delay us, then we can bring it up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abiodun. I think Mr. Lucio has a question for you before we proceed.
Yeah, sure.
You can ask your question, Mr. Lucio. And while we are waiting for Mr. Lucio to ask his question, I encourage everyone to turn on their camera. We'll be taking our mentees presentation next. So I encourage everyone to put on your camera while we take quick screenshots of ourselves on the call. You can smile for the camera.
Please guys, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Just go. Just ask question. Don't be shy, guys.
All right, thank you very much. Everyone putting on their cameras. Nobody is putting on their camera. Okay, I can see your cameras on now. Anaje Ngozi, please put on your camera. Onuchebe, put on your camera. Aminat, put on your camera. Odi James, Omolayomi, Oshunuga, Pesinachi, and Gloria. Kindly turn on your camera and smile for the camera. Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, we've taken a few screenshots. We're going to move on to taking our mentees presentation before we come into the question and answer sessions. So I'm calling on Group 1 presenter. Please start. You can start your presentation now. Our presenter for Group 1, are you on the call? Okay, if the presenter for Group 1 is not available, Group 2 presenter, you can step in, please. Who is the presenter for Group 2, please? Gloria, we can see your screen, but you are muted and we can't hear you talking. Are you the presenter for group 2? Okay, Gloria, your screen is down. Who is the presenter for group 2? I can see the presenter for group 3 is Gloria, and the presenter for group 1 is Esther. We don't have Esther on the call. Please, who is the backup presenter for group 1? Backup presenter is Chris Martin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Your voice is breaking.
Okay. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, sorry for the delay. Good evening.
Good evening,
I'm the
Gloria.
presenter for group 2. So our topic was intellectual property in sports, and we have our content there. So after our content, we talked about the role of IP in sports.
Will you be sharing your
That
screen, please?
Oh, I thought I was sharing my screen. I'm so sorry. Oh God, I'm having troubles. Please, 1 second. Okay.
We can't see your screen.
I'm trying to share my screen. I'm coming. Please give me 1 second.
Gloria, you were sharing your screen before and you did that very
I
fast.
Yes, I don't know what's happening with my laptop. Sorry. Please give me 1 second to fix it.
1 second is over. If you can't share your screen, I think maybe one presenter can start presenting while you are trying to figure that out. Presenter for group 1 or backup presenter, are you on the call?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now. Omolayomi.
Yes, okay, I think she's sharing her screen now. Okay. Hello.
We can hear you, Omolayomi. Kindly go ahead. You have 10 minutes to quickly and briefly summarize your presentation.
Okay. Sorry, please let me get okay. So to actually share that screen on my behalf because where I am currently. So I don't know if I can just continue while she shares the screen for me.
Anyone on your group can share the screen for you.
What did you say?
I said any of your group members can share this. Can you see your group members on the call?
Yes, one of them is there.
I'll call on any of them to share the screen on your behalf.
Okay, Nisi, please can you share the screen? So one is bad.
The screen is up. Can you see it?
Everybody.
We can't hear you, Omolayo. I think you are muted.
No, I'm not muted. Hey now.
Omolayo, your network is very, 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 very poor. And your voice keep breaking. I don't know if you have a backup presenter to step in for you.
Okay, let me change my picture again. Hello, can you hear me now?
It's better now.
So I just have to change my location. Like I just presentation. Okay, first I will apologize for the back and forth before we join the presentation. Before I begin my presentation, but I'll just go over it so that time will not go. Good afternoon, everybody. We are presenting on my name is Omolayo. I'm the presenter for and we are presenting on IP protection in sports. So I believe everybody understands what sport means. Sport is generally like an activity that is globally recognized, and then income and revenue is related from it. So which makes it vulnerable for IP infringement and the likes. And that is why we have IP protection in sports. Now the sport industry takes advantage of numerous protection offered by IP rights, from protection of inventions, from patents to protection of image rights, TV and advertising rights and the likes. So these rights are very, very important, and they add to commercial value. As they add commercial value to the sporting world. So the failure to offer IP rights will lead to significant losses for every stakeholder in the game. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that the failure to protect our IP rights will actually affect everybody in the game, and this is not limited to the other people that actually in sports basically. So when we protect, then now
Sorry to interrupt. Can you hear me? Kindly, maybe you turn off your video so that maybe we can hear you clearly. We can't hear any complete sentence you are making because your voice keep breaking.
Okay, maybe I have somebody else to present because where I am now, I don't know, probably is there. I've changed places like so many times, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think someone on your group, I don't know if Nisi can step in to present.
Hello, Nisi, can you do that, please?
Okay. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So I will just be an impromptu presenter. Basically, we are talking about IP protection in sports, and to run through it so as to save our time, because we actually spend the time. It's patents. We know the IP protections. We have the copyright. We have the trademark, the industrial design, patents, and the likes. So, as going by our slide, the patents and sports. So, patent and sports falls under. Sorry, can everybody see my slide?
You can see your slides. Please proceed. You have 4 more minutes to quickly summarize.
So patents and sports. In patents and sports, this is inventions that would boost the sport industries. Like during, there are inventors that invent shoes for paralytic people be able to run. So those kind of inventions, like shoes for the basketballers and all those stuff, they are creations they are inventions that have like intellectual property, and it is protected. So when you register, when a creator makes such an invention, there's a patent to it that such expertise or such creations will be referenced to the person that created it. And an importance of this protection is that it makes the unauthorized use invalid. Like people, when it prevents unauthorized usage of such an invention, and it also grants exclusive rights to the person, the creator of that invention. Then I'm sorry, I'm just really rushing because of the time. But an example of the sporting invention, as can be seen from the slide, is in 1929, the Judge Hale Perry was awarded the first patent for a ball that is a basketball that was designed and is now what we use and what we know to be basketball. He was the one who created it, and today that attribute is still given to him, that he was the one who created the basketball. That is the patents for patents. Then we have sponsorship in IP. This is where brands come in, and companies come in and they sponsor a particular team or a particular aspect or a particular player or athlete. They come and they sponsor that person, saying that, okay, this person, for this amount of time or for this amount of days or months or years, most of the time, you are to use this product or you showcase this product while we sponsor you. And the benefits of sponsoring is that it exposes not just the team or the athlete, it exposes the brand as well. It also makes a bigger target, marketing target, and it also encourages social media and digital engagement. It's also a good way of financing this team or the athletes, whereby raising money and other stuff. It enhances fan experience, whereby they make merchandise to sell, and you that you're really into maybe a particular footballer or a basketballer, you get a shirt with the person's name on it, or with the person's, or a keychain with the person's figure or logo, or the club logo on it. Then an example of sponsorship is Coca-Cola and FIFA, the Nike and NBA. There's nowhere you go that you see a NBA or a basketball players team or a basketball or anything that has to do with NBA, that is basketball playing team, without seeing the Nike symbol, the Nike trademark as such. Then there's the brand protection in sports. Brand protection in sports is vital because it is a brand name attracts fans. Like there are people that are diehard fans for Arsenal, for the Lakers, for whichever Formula One, they are diehard fans. So what the brand production does is that it protects the brand name, that this particular brand, what we give you, what we do is the quality and the person that is actually, excuse me, it creates the right that enables sports association licenses. This right and generates revenue from it. That means it encourages licensing, like when the team or when the athlete decides that, okay, I want my name or my logo to be branded in a way. This will also help. I'm so sorry for rushing. Importance of IP brand protection. What IP brand protection does is that it preserves the brand's unique name, like I've mentioned earlier, the logo, and it ensures that the brand is protected from exploitation. It also builds consumers' trust and confidence. It prevents counterfeiting and exploitation, and it also grows revenue. Then the endorsement in sports. Endorsement in sports is basically an agreement between the team and an organization, whereby the team decides that it's the endorsement in sports is basically it's an agreement between a team and an organization for sponsorship or for exclusive use. For example,
sorry to interrupt. Kindly conclude. The time is up.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I want us to note in that line of conclusion that there's also licensing in sports. You also license your sporting rights to organizations as well, and your image rights, so you can do that. And in conclusion, intellectual property rights in sports is a high revenue generator for sporting associations, athletes, teams, and agencies. And it takes advantage of numerous protections to ensure that they are properly awarded their influence. The sporting industry is valued at billions of dollars, and this is only possible because of many IP rights available in the game. Thank you very much for listening to our short presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for stepping in, Missy, and also Omo Layo for also trying to present on behalf of your group. Group 2, you can start your presentation now. You have 8 minutes to present.
Oh. Oh.
Gloria, we can't hear you.
I thought I just unmuted now.
Is Gloria the only person in group 2? Do we have a backup presenter? Okay, while we are waiting for group 2 presentation, I would call on our mentors to give a brief comment on the first presentation and also take the questions that I sent on the chat box. I'll call on Mr. Abiodun Sonaike because he will not be spending the whole time with us. So I sent some questions on the chat box, which is the first question says, how do we relate IP to arbitration in sports? And also we are also expecting a brief comment on the presentation from you, Mr. Abiodun.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Abiodun, are you on the call?
Yeah, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, your question was talking. Number one, let me make it's a considering the time frame within which the young lady had to take up the challenge to present. That was a good one. One of the hallmark of a lawyer is to quickly be able to think of a solution while on your feet. You don't have to act like a robot. That means when there are issues, you quickly think of the solution and then bring out a solution. However, on the issue of endorsement, she said endorsement can be between maybe a team, and now it does not really, I just want to say that it's not limited to a team. A celebrity, or it could actually be to an individual. Like an individual can actually give an endorsement. It is not necessarily limited to a corporate body, as it were, but an individual, both natural or artificial. So meaning once you have something, once you have that status that can actually give out an endorsement, you can give out such an endorsement. It's generally about the value of the endorsement you are really giving, so to say. Now, on the issue of whether, on the issue of arbitration and intellectual property, the truth is that, let me be sure, Mr. Hussein, let me be sure of the question, really, so that I am not answering something else. Can you hear me, sir? Hello, are you there?
Hello, sir, let me take the question. I think his network went off.
Okay.
Okay, it says, how do we relate IP to arbitration in sports?
Okay, great. Now, the thing is, in law generally, where there is a rule that says that ubi jus ibi remedium, that wherever there is a breach, or there's a breach, there's always a remedy. Yes, naturally, Court of Arbitration for Sports, as it were, doesn't only deals with sport-related issues, but it doesn't mean that there can't be. Arbitration is actually an alternative to dispute resolution. So if mostly, I believe that arbitration is very, 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 very relevant when it comes to intellectual property. Because the truth is, it really covers how you could protect your right, and whenever there's such a breach of, or wherever somebody actually, there's a need to protect the right and all that, arbitration is actually one way you could get that done. It does not necessarily have to be limited to the Court of Arbitration for Sports. It does not have to be limited to the right as protected by sports law, so to say. But I am speaking from the African point of view. If you check out most relationship that in the world of sport these days, by the time you are drafting an agreement with an individual, you are mostly putting an arbitration clause into that agreement to make sure that, rather than having to go through the conventional law court and all that, you could actually deal with it with arbitration. I hope I actually answer your question, but if I do not, please let me know what your expectations are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It seems Hussein is back on the call.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm back. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you, Hussein. Kindly continue.
So, all right. So, thank you very much, Mr. Abiodun. Would like to take the second question, but I think Gloria's screen is up, and we can take her presentation for the next 8 minutes. Gloria, can you do that, please?
Yes, we can.
We can't hear you. I don't know if you are using an earpiece, but we
Can you
can't
hear
hear
me
you.
now?
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
yeah, I can
so
hear you now. I think maybe it's my network.
all right, thank you. So I'll just go straight to the role of IP in sports because the first slide is just introducing the topic and then the next slide talking about the content. So I'll just start from slide 3. The role of IP in sport. Good evening, everybody. I'm so sorry for the network issues and me coming here late. So just like we know that IP's role in sports cannot be overemphasized, as it is seen in almost every area, the jerseys that are being worn by the athletes, which is being designed by someone, which is an invention that can be protected. And also we have the television or the radio broadcast, which is also being put together by a broadcasting company. And to that extent, such a company has the right to protect same from being used by another person or by another company. The Nigerian Copyright Act 2020 defines broadcast as the transmission by wireless means of sounds or images or both in such a manner as to cause such images or sounds to be received by the public. So we'll go to copyright in sports broadcasting. So copyright in sports broadcasting is just talking about the protection that is being enjoyed by these broadcasting companies, which also protect both their live and pre-recorded broadcasts, including the visual images, and the audio it contains. It also confers several rights on the broadcasting company. And this right that is being conferred on them allows them to take legal actions against any person or any other company that tries to infringe on such a right. And such right includes the right to record, to rebroadcast, to publish, distribute, take still photographs from the broadcast, and so on. We'll move over to trademarks, which protects anything that has to do with brands that are registered from being used by another person. So, since we're talking about sports, the shoes that these athletes put on has some particular brand, such as the Nike company. We all know the Nike company. Once you see that tick sign, you know that it's Nike. So if anybody tries to probably use that sign or use that symbol, such a person can be sued and damages will be recovered. And also, where this brand is not registered, the person is not totally cut off from protection, as the person can find covering under passing off. Although we didn't say what passing off is here, but passing off is that right that enables you to enjoy some certain level of protection wherein you already have an established brand or something you're using, it stops another person from using that same design or brand or something that is similar or something that is likely to cause some other people to think that this other person is the owner of that brand, whereas that is not the case. So you can actually find covering other person off. However, trademark is better because it gives you a solid foundation or a solid backing. So we'll talk about patent in sport broadcasting, which allows a person that registers same to be protected, allows your technological innovations as well to be protected. And this protection also includes the covering of your camera. It allows the sound technology to also be protected from being used by another person. So that when you're about to be exploited or when such innovation is about to be exploited for commercial purposes, such person that has registered same can actually file a suit because the action of the other person trying to use another's patented work will constitute an infringement. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, so move over to industrial designs, which particularly covers what anything that we wear. Let me put it that way. As we know that these sports industries, each club has its own specific design. The jersey has its own peculiar color. Like we know Chelsea is blue, we know Man City is also blue, but the designs and the shade of blue is not the same. So where another club is trying to use the design of another club, you can come under here to register same, and you can get covering and protection from this. And if such is the case, you can actually file a suit. And it doesn't only stop at the dress or the jersey that they put on, it also goes down to the design in the sporting equipment, even the water bottles where they put in their water, and the footwear that they wear on their legs. So we also went ahead to discuss a case study, which is the Orange Crush. The Denver Broncos are the most recent Super Bowl champions. In a bid to capitalize on their recent success, they are attempting to trademark the name Orange Crush, which is the nickname they earned in the 1970s as a result of their excellent defense, which was a key contribution to their title winning season and increased their popularity. However, the team is facing challenges in doing so because Orange Crush is also the name of a soda brand owned by Dr. Pepper Snapple, who has now officially filed an opposition to the Denver Broncos trademark attempt. However, the case is yet to be concluded. So we move on to arbitration in sports, having in mind that arbitration has to do with settlement out of court. And because this is a sports industry, most at times they prefer to go through arbitration rather than litigation, so as to save time and to um, you know quickly dispense with the issue that is on ground. So arbitration is a form of an alternative dispute resolution, also known as out of court settlement. Like the name implies it is a method of settling disputes out of court. Due to the nature of sports disputes require flexible procedures and timely settlement, hence the preference of arbitration over litigation and other forms of ADR in sports. So went ahead to discuss the international arbitration in sports, which is basically talking about arbitration in another jurisdiction, which is not in Nigeria. So in international sphere, it's being governed by the Court of Arbitration for Sports, and that happens to be like the apex court that governs anything that has to do with sporting activities over there, that helps in settling of sports disputes. This body was established by the International Olympic Committee in 1984 and is administered and financed by the International Council of Arbitration for Sports. Its headquarters is in Switzerland. Down to arbitration of sports in Nigeria, as against what is obtainable in outside the country. In Nigeria, there is really no particular body that sees to the affair of this kind of sports, except for the general body, which is um the Nigerian Football Federation. The Nigerian Football Federation is restrictive because it only governs the issue of football. So although the
Sorry
Nigerian,
to interrupt.
can you hear
Lola.
me? Ah,
The time is up.
my time is up.
I say sorry to interrupt. Kindly conclude. Your time is up. Yes.
Okay. Although the Nigeria Olympic Committee has decided to establish a body for resolving the internal disputes in respect of all kinds of sports in Nigeria, they are yet to finally conclude on that issue. So we'll just move on to the importance of IP in sports, and some of the importance includes the fact that it allows creators and inventors of various works that come to play in sport to exploit such works economically. It protects the moral rights of creators and inventors, which include the attribution of authorship and the integrity of authorship. In summary, just like in every other field, IP allows creators and inventors to enjoy the reward of their labor, hence doing away with infringers or those trying to infringe on other people's protected rights. Thank you very much. I think we're only left with the references. I'm so sorry for coming late. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Victoria, for that presentation. I'll be calling on our mentor, Mr. Lucio, to comment on the presentation and also be taking our next question. Does trade secrets come into play in sports in any way at all? That's the question for Mr. Lucio.
Does trade secrets come into play in sports in any way at all? Good question. Good question. Yeah, of course. When we do negotiation, when we do like when for example, when you have to sign a football player, when you do negotiation, it is very important to not to show what are your real intentions. This could be like a trade secret. You have to be able to do some kind of bluff. You have to be able to not to show totally open what are your intentions, what are your real goals. So it is important, like to understand who you have in front of you, and to understand what kind of person you have in front of you and what are their intention, you know. So this is like a trade secret. Don't give immediate trust to the person you have in front of you, but being able to understand who you have in front of you and what are its intention. And then like another secret is to have like to draft a contract which can have like as many clauses as possible. I mean, everything must be finalized in details. It is very important that everything can be should be like put on the paper. Everything must be put on the paper. No, in Latin we say verba molant scripta manent. It means like words fly, written things keep. So it is important to have everything planned, to have everything written, and to put as many clauses as possible, because it is very, very important, because otherwise any kind of controversial, any kind of issues could arise. So the secret is always to put everything on the paper, even like a clause that you can think that it is not so important, every little detail that you can imagine that could be not solved, not put on the paper, perfectly on the paper. No, you have to put everything. You have to put, it is essential to put as many clauses as possible. It is essential. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes,
like
yes,
this,
sir.
This could be like the first trade secret that I can tell you. Put everything on the paper, put everything in details, as many things as you can. It is really, really important, because the most important thing is to prevent any kind of possible conflict, any kind of possible solution, so controversial, sorry. So it is very, 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 very important that everything is put on the paper. And so even a small clause, even like a detail, everything must be put on the paper. This is like the secret. For example, when I made the agreement of Lukaku, Like my boss told me that everything had to be included. And in this case, it was essential for me to understand that every little clause related to the image right, related to the, I don't know, negotiation contract related to, I don't know what else, to everything, like every little detail, every little small thing had to be included. So this is my first suggestion, to put everything on the paper, everything, even like small things that you can imagine, you can think they are not important, they are not essential. No, you have to put everything on the paper, and in order to avoid as many controversial as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Lucio.
Thanks to you.
Thank you very much for that answer. I'll be giving the third question to Mr. Abiodun. What are broadcasting rights? Are they separate from copyrights? If we still have Mr. Abiodun on the call. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, whether the broadcasting rights is different.
What are broadcasting rights, and are they like different from copyright, or are they the same thing?
Okay, now, sorry, before I answer that, from the previous question that Mr. Lucio was talking about, you know, he kept telling you that you must put everything on paper, everything on paper. Yes. Now, I would like to share some of these things. For instance, there should always be a non-disclosure agreement, especially when you have you are still in the negotiation stage. It is always very, very expedient that you have to protect yourself. And you know, one of the things that can make you make money in sports generally, or your client to make money in sports, is the ideas they are generating that are mostly inventions and all that. But you know, sometimes you have some of these ideas and you are trying to develop them, you are trying to discuss with people that will bring it to life, but you don't know, these people have skills, but some persons do not have integrity. So how do you deal with that? So the issue of non-disclosure agreement, you must actually deal with that. Then the issue of licensing, some of these things you must actually think about how you are going to license your intellectual property. Then the issue of confidentiality is also important, especially for player contracts or agency and all that. There should be confidentiality. And then the issue of data protection is also there. The issue of competitive balance and fair play. You see, there are so many issue of trade secrets generally in intellectual property and sport law. Now back to the question you have asked me. Yes, broadcasting rights in sports actually refer to exclusive rights granted to broadcasters or media companies to transmit live coverage in of football. For instance, there's a football, there's EPL. Broadcasting rights are actually granted to a certain media organization. For instance, in Africa, generally, when you are talking about the broadcasting rights for the EPL, you're talking about this South African media company, the DSTV, or what do we call it, Super Sport. So it is now the rights given to Super Sport that he can now decide to sell, and the extent to which he is selling to other. Now, for copyright on this service, a legal concept that grants creators of the original work. So the person that is for the EPL is the copyright owner of the of the EPL as it were, but the broadcast is the one that has the right to give the broadcasting right to. So, like a broadcasting right is just one aspect of the copyright owned by EPL, from which is now selling to the broadcasting organization, but it doesn't give all the total copyrights of the EPL as it were to the broadcasting. It's just giving the right to air the football event, but not everything. So when you are drafting or when you are giving that, you must really be specific of what rights you are giving to whoever you are giving it to, and to what extent that right goes and to what extent it doesn't go. I think I hope that is clear.
Yes, sir. It's very clear, sir. Okay, I think we have another question here. Our mentee is asking that who owns image right of an athlete? Is it the sports association they belong to or the club? Mr. Sonak, Abiodun can take that before you leave, and Mr. Lucio will also contribute.
Okay. On the issue of who owns the rights, actually there is still a lot of ongoing argument as to.
Do we still have Mr. Abiodun on the call?
Yes, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Sir.
Now, on the issue of who owns the right, generally, under it's really dependent on under which law you're really looking at it from. For instance, the last year, I had to work on the NFTs of a certain ex international, and this was one of the major questions we needed to deal with. That, okay, this person was an ex-player who played in the EPL, a Nigerian player, and we needed to work on to develop his NFT. And then we were asking ourselves, all the video clips when he was playing there, who owns it? Hope we are not going to have an issue as to, okay, you drafted something out of his football video while he was playing. Will the EPL not show up and say this video belongs to us? And will his club not come out and say? The thing is, naturally, the image right belongs to the player. But once you sign for a football club, one of the things that will be included in your agreement is the fact that you actually transferred a certain segment of your image rights to the football club. So for any action that is connected to that football club and to some extent, the extent to which you are giving to them will be clearly stated in your in the contract of employment. The same way, the rights that belongs to the football club and all its players, to some extent, will be ceded to the league, such that you won't be able to come and say you cannot use my image. But aside those, the which you give those rights to them, the other part belongs to you. I think maybe, I hope the person will understand what I'm really trying to say. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. That naturally, the right belongs to you. You cannot really separate the image right of a person from the person, I mean the athlete. But once the athlete is in agreement with a club, by joining a club, your contract of employment must specifically state to what extent you have given the right to the club to use. So in the contract of employment you are signing, it will be stated clearly the extent of your right that you are ceding to the club. And the club also, being a member of the league, is also ceding a certain extent of their right as a club and also their right of players to the league. But outside that extent of the right that is being ceded, the other part of the right belongs to the player. And the player can actually act contrary to what he has signed. And the club and the league cannot not also act to the part given to them. For instance, at the time they came to Nigeria, they formed the Super to Nigeria, saw his billboard, his pictures, his image being used by Super Sports, and he was asking the question that when did they get? Yes, Super Sports was giving broadcasting rights, and yes, they could use pictures of some EPL players that are Nigerian, but not specifically singling out individually as if he had an agreement with them that he could use his image alone. Based on the agreement he signed with the EPL, it should be with, yes, he could actually, as a partner of the EPL, Supersport as a partner of the EPL, the picture could actually be with, in conjunction with other English EPL players that are Nigerian or that are African. Not that you take it alone and then you make it look as if he is an ambassador or he signed an ambassadorial agreement with the EPL. I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So it is generally, the extent is based on what is in the agreement or the player contract player signed, what the right the team, his team ceded to the EPL, and what. So who owns the image rights is dependent on that. I hope you get what I was trying to explain. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sunake. I'll be giving the same question to Mr. Lucio to get his own contribution and examples on the question. Mr. Lucio, are you on those?
Can you see me?
Yes.
See me?
Yes, we can see you now.
Nice, nice, nice. Can you please do the question again?
Okay. The question is, who owns image rights of an athlete? Is it the sport association they belong to, or the club?
No. If a player is signed with a club, the owner of the image right is the club. It's not the sporting association. Like, for example, let's do the example of Italy. If we do the example of Italy, we can say that it is not like the FIGC, the Italian Football Association, the one who which owns the rights, but it is the club. But there are some specific cases where it is the player himself who has the right, who has the rights of the his own image rights, you know. So it depends, but most, for example, in Napoli, do you know the Italian football team Napoli? Higuain owned his own rights, his own image rights, while all the rest of the team own the rights, the general rights. So it depends. It depends, but for sure, it is never the sporting association which owns the rights of an athlete. In this case, it could be the athlete himself, or in most cases, the club.
All right.
So for example, I don't know, let's do the example of, I don't know, Rafael Leao, who plays for AC Milan. The AC Milan owns the rights of the player himself.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lucio, and also Mr. Abiodun.
Can we make a picture? So we will have like a memory of this event. And
okay,
I hope this will be like the first of many events that we can organize. I remember during the pandemic, I used to organize a lot of webinars. I ran that channel, Sports Talks at Calle Serrano, and it was crazy how much the share, the audience. We did a great job. Then after the pandemic, there was not the use anymore of organizing the webinars, but I think we can organize some other mentorship programs, some other nice nice events in order to make our network even more important, even bigger, even wider. What do you think about it?
I think it's a very nice idea. We'll look into that, and I'll also send the message across to the JIIPCC management. So once again, I'm still urging our mentees to ask any live question you have. You can raise your hand while I call on you to ask a question, and we can all turn on our cameras so that we take one more pictures. Okay, Nisi has a question. While Nisi is asking a question, let's all turn on our camera while we are still taking pictures for me. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, so my question is in the area of licensing, as licensing in sport, is it who actually has the right of license? Like for instance, take a case where maybe Adidas wants to use or wants a sporting team to wear a jersey made by them. Is it the team who is giving them their logo to put on the jersey that has a license, or Adidas that is making the shirts? So who really has the right license there in that situation or in that scenario?
Yeah, Mr. Lucio, I hope you got that question.
Yeah. I could not hear you. I could not hear you.
Okay, I said in licensing in sports, in a situation where like Adidas now, they want to make a jersey, and a bot team like Arsenal is giving them their logo to put on the jersey. Then there's always going to be that Adidas logo on the jersey. Who has the right of licensing in that particular scenario? Who will be licensing, and who will be the licensee, and who will be the licensor in that scenario?
Yeah, good question. I guess it will be the player, the athlete, the player, the football player, if we talk about football, but the athlete, if we talk in general. Yeah, I would say the athlete. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't get a clarification in my second question. I asked at what point can an athlete have exclusive rights to his image rights? It must be signed. It must be signed. It must be signed in the contract. It must be signed in the contract, and in the contract it must be specified who is the owner of the rights. If he is like in the contract, it must be specified who is the owner of the image rights, but in particularly I mean, there is not in the question there is written at what point, but in my I would suggest to put like since the beginning. I mean, there is not like at what point. Since the beginning, it must be specified that the athlete is the owner, and he has the exclusive rights. Also in relation to his image rights. Was it clear?
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
I felt there was clarification in the response given by myself and Mr. Lucio.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I say that? Is that both of us were saying that generally the player owns his image rights, but if he is under contract with a football club, he has ceded a certain aspect of his image right to the football club from his contract. And the extent of this part is ceding is clearly stated in the contract. Now, if you're saying at what point, at the point of from the beginning, he owns his image right. But at the point of contract, he's transferring some of it to the football club. Now, if he is no more in contract with the football club, his image right reverts to him. But part is ceded to the football club while he is still in contract with the football club. Everything that every of his image that had to do with the time he was with the football club, to the extent to which he ceded it, belongs to the football club. It is actually very clear. The image right generally belongs to him. He's just ceding some part of it for a contract, which is clear and will be clearly stated in the agreement. There is nothing. There is nothing quite. So the exclusivity of it depends on how much of his right did he give it to of his image right did he give it to the football club, stated in the contract clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I said before, the in the contract it must be specified since the beginning that there must be like a clause specifying that that the image rights pertain to the athlete in this case. So it must be specified. It must be specified. Since in this sense, I say since the beginning. In this sense, you know. Yeah, of course. I mean, an athlete until the point he belongs to the athlete. I mean, any kind of athlete is the owner of his own image rights. Okay, until the point he signs with a club. In the moment he signs with a club, in the contract, very often it is specified that the athlete is the owner of the club is the owner of the image rights of the football player, of the athlete, you know. So basically image rights belongs to the athlete, but of course if a player signs with a club, signs a contract with a club, it is specified that the image rights must be assigned to the club. Got it?
I think Chukwuemeka, there's a clarity now between you and our mentor, right?
Other questions?
Yeah, we are taking any other question from our mentees in case if you have. Thank you very much for the question, Chukwuemeka. Thank you very much to our both mentors, Mr. Abiodun Sunaike, informed us earlier that he's joining another meeting. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much also for joining us, Mr. Lucio Maze. We'll make sure to send you more invites to our future IP classes in this area to also get mentorship from you. Thank you very much once again, everyone. Thank you very much.
Let's take a picture, guys. Let's take a picture all together.
Okay. Let's take a picture. Turn your camera. Courtesy Lucio, our mentor for today. Okay. You can just turn on your camera and smile for the camera while you're taking the pictures. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much as you do so. Please smile for 30 seconds. Yeah, your longest smile.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much as you do so. Yeah, with this we've come to the end. Amina.
Yeah,
Amina,
we also want Amina in the picture.
Okay, you want Amina on the picture. Amina, please, so we need your we need you on the picture. Yeah, thank you very much. So Amina, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Mr. Lucio for making the session very lively and interactive. Thank you very much to all our mentees that also engaged on the session. We've come to the end of the session for today. For our mentees, kindly make sure you post on your social media platform what you've learned from today's session with attached with our screenshots. Thank you very much. I think we can end the session now. Please do have a lovely and fun-filled weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Hope to see all of you very, very soon.
All right, thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.
Mr. Lucio, I sent you a direct message, a direct chat. Please check.
Oh yeah, sure. This is my WhatsApp number. Bye-bye, guys.
All right, you can end the call now.
Bye, everyone.